If you're a taxi driver or if you have an awful lot of children, then pay attention because it seems the EV revolution hasn't quite passed you by yet.
Yellow. Soothing. Losing your 9-year no-claims bonus to a pebble? Not so soothing. We don't do stress at the AA. We do car insurance. Relax. Yellow and black have got your back.
Before we go on, please do give this video a like. Please subscribe to the AA Ireland YouTube channel and hit that bell icon to stay in touch with all of our latest video releases. And no, I haven't shrank. This 5 meters of magnificence is the Opel Vivaro-e, and we all know the Vivaro as being a very useful utilitarian van, usually with a diesel engine. Well, this time it's electric, and this time it's the passenger version, so we have a total of 9 seats. Battery wise, we have a 50 kilowatt hour battery. Now that's not a lot, and more upon that later, but there is the option of a larger battery, a 75 kilowatt hour battery. It's powering a 100 kilowatt electric motor, which equates to about 136 horsepower. Range wise, you're talking 200 kilometers on a good day. Is that enough? Let's find out. Okay, so let's have a tour of the cabin of the Vivaro-e, and space and practicality is really what this thing is going to be all about. So it's important to show you around. So if I just flip the camera around and start with the cabin from right to left. So the plastics are quite brittle and hard wearing, but that's the nature of this level of vehicle. It's going to be hard wearing, it's going to be tough. There is no multi-function steering wheel, but there are controls for the audio and cruise control system behind the steering wheel. You can see from the displays, you can cycle through your menus and see how you're doing in terms of performance. Overall, I've been managing about between 170 to 200 kilometers from a full charge on this, which is okay. Is it enough? That's up to you, but for spinning around and doing the basic jobs over the course of a week, ferrying people around, it's been absolutely fine. Over here you have your display, which as you can see has Apple CarPlay in it, so you have your Google Maps. There's manual air conditioning controls here. This is your transmission as such, so you have your various drive modes, including an eco mode, which will cut down on the various ancillaries to give you more range. And of course you have your B mode as well, which gives you something akin to one pedal driving, because it will brake for you quite heavily. So we have 3 seats across the front, 9 seats in total. So if we look into the back, we can see we have another row of 3 seats. So ISOFIX points on all of these seats in the back, and then another row of seats towards the end. So I will show you that. So sliding doors, access to flip those seats again is down by a handle here, so you can flip those seats up. So there's no ISOFIX in those rearmost seats, but 3 across the front here, so that is pretty useful, and we did have that occupied over the course of this week as well. So moving to the back, a very wide opening tailgate and a pretty useful luggage capacity at the back here, even with all those seats in place. So certainly enough for plenty of luggage. Certainly has been taking my camera gear, football boots, and of course your charging cables as well. So it is a generous space at the back, even with all of those seats occupied. The thing about a 9-seater people carrier is that no one is going to buy it by accident. They've bought it because they just have an awful lot of children, or their children are very popular, or they are a taxi driver. And for those people, the options have been pretty lean when it comes to EVs, and practically non-existent. Now we're going to see quite a few over the course of the next few months, mostly from the Stellantis group. So this is one of those cars, the Opel version, and this is the Vivaro-e. There is also a Zafira version, which is a little bit fancier. It's got 8 seats instead of 9. It has 17-inch alloy wheels, it has some prettier paintwork options, and also some individual seats and things like 8 speakers instead of 4 speakers. But this is the wipe clean utilitarian version. And when we talk about price, this is where this becomes very interesting, because this is €41,000, and that for a 9-seater electric vehicle is pretty damn good, because there is nothing really like it for now. Now there will be from Citroën and the like, but for now this is pretty unique, and at that price it takes some serious consideration, especially if you need it. If you need 9 seats, if you're a taxi driver, well then this looks like a very, very strong option. And more on the taxi driver option, there is of course a new grant in place, so that if you are scrapping your taxi for an EV and you're going for a brand new EV, you could be getting up to €25,000 off the initial price of the vehicle, because of course there is more money available for those people who make the vehicle wheelchair accessible. So at that price, this starts to make an awful lot of sense. The thing about jumping into a vehicle like this, for want of a better word, a van with seats, is that you expect it to drive like a clattery diesel with lots of noise and a vibrating gear shifter, but of course this is an electric one and it's really quiet and it's really smooth. It's very simple to drive as well. It's not a difficult thing to navigate, even for someone who wouldn't spend a lot of time in vans or bigger vehicles. There's plenty of glass. This visibility all around is actually pretty good. This one isn't fitted with parking sensors at the rear, even though I'm told by Opel that that will come on newer versions. So parking it can be a little bit of a challenge, just in terms of reversing back into spots, because it is 5 meters long and you often wonder, is there something behind. I've found myself jumping out to check because you're just not sure of the length of it. But it is easy to drive, and for the job that I wanted it to do this week, I did ask Opel very kindly for the loan of this, because I did have family over. There was confirmations, there was babies in buggies, there was all sorts, and for that it was brilliant. For bringing kids to rugby and their friends to matches, it was brilliant. Some of the older kids didn't really like the look of it, but as a vehicle to get around in, and it, as a vehicle doing a job, it was absolutely perfect. Now, as an EV, that's a slightly different story, because look, range is very subjective. It's a very subjective thing, but as it is at just about 200 kilometers from a full charge with this 50 kilowatt hour battery, it's on the cusp of just not being enough. Now, if you were a taxi driver in Dublin city centre, there's a good chance that would be fine, because you might be doing short runs. If you are a parent and you're scooching the kids to school and hockey matches and rugby matches and whatever else, it could very well be fine if you have access to that charger at home. But it's where you are barreling down a motorway at 120 kilometers per hour and you have air conditioning on and that range is dissolving in front of your eyes, that's when you might start to get a little bit anxious. But there is another version. There is a bigger battery version, a 75 kilowatt hour battery, and that has allegedly a much more useful range, north of 300. And that would probably be the way to go if you were buying one of these, just because it would give you that extra little bit of security. Over the course of my week, it hasn't necessarily bothered me. I have a charger at home. There's decent chargers where I live, and driving it within the limitations of what it can do, you're going to be fine. But as a family car, as a taxi, this would be genius, because it's quiet, it's efficient, and it's good value. At €41,000, it's incredibly good value. And for me, one of the surprise electric family cars of this year. There's no doubt the Vivaro-e won't be for everyone. For some, the styling is just going to be too van-like, and also in terms of it being an electric vehicle, that range might just be a little bit tight for some. However, for lots of people, taxi drivers, and for those with big families who just shuttle around, doing those everyday jobs, then this thing is nailed on to be a winner. And at that price of €41,000, it can't be ignored.